Ultraman Rising is a new Netflix animated movie based off of the Japanese superhero series Ultraman. This follows Ken Sato, an arrogant baseball player who moves back to Japan to take over the role of Ultraman from his dad, and comes across a little kaiju baby and has to learn how to balance his life raising the kaiju baby, protecting it, and being a baseball player, and his journey of overcoming his ego. That's the basic premise of this movie. Like I said, Sato is a new Ultraman in Japan. He has recently moved back there, and he finds this little baby, kaiju baby, that he has to take care of because, there's this kaiju defense force that is after it and kills all kaijus, and he just kind of feels obligated to take care of it. And like I said, it's this journey of letting go of his ego and learning how to balance his life, essentially. This movie is really well animated. I love the animation style of this. I think it looks fantastic and great. Absolutely a 10 out of 10 when it comes to animation. There's great action scenes, especially towards the end. Amazing designs. It's overall a really fantastically animated movie. Where I have flaws with this movie, though, is in the story. I feel like you definitely could have cut out little bits and pieces of the movie to make it flow better. I feel like it's overstuffed. It definitely is overstuffed. It's 2 hours and 1 minute long, about an hour and 50 minutes without credits, something like that. But I feel like they could have cut out a lot. There's 2 montages in this movie, which, they do it for reasons to speed things up, which is okay. A montage is totally fine within a movie, but 2 tells me that you have a lot more that you want to say or show or do, but you don't really have the time to, do it in a proper manner. So that's how I feel that time-wise, they could have cut some things out in this movie to flesh it out and, lengthen it a little bit better. A lot of the time I thought that this actually might have made a better series versus a movie. It's definitely a good movie. They hit a lot of the emotional parts with Sato and his dad being the last Ultraman, which is fantastic, and Sato really learning to love and care about this kaiju baby. Those moments are great and fantastic, but I feel like we lose some other things very quickly. Like, in the beginning of the movie, Sato is very egotistical, and of course his journey is to get past that. And the way they show it, sometimes it's good, but a lot of times, like I said, it's just really quick, and it's a detriment to the movie, in my opinion. Overall, it's an enjoyable movie. It's well animated. That the animation is my favorite and best part of this thing, but I feel like they could have done more with the story. It could have been better balanced, and I also feel like they don't explain some things that maybe the audience really needed to know, and I'll talk about that more in spoilers. But I'm not a big Ultraman fan. I've seen some of the anime that is also on Netflix, and I'm familiar with the property somewhat, but I don't know enough to actually maybe know some of these things that we aren't told, which aren't big in a detriment to the story or anything like that. But I feel like when I was watching the movie, I was thinking about it, these questions, and they're more spoilery, so I'm going to talk about it in spoilers. So I give this movie a 7 out of 10. It's definitely enjoyable, if not, a little bit long, because the pacing just, again, it feels off. But overall, a good, fantastic movie. And I do recommend it. If you're a fan of Ultraman, you're probably already going to check it out. But if you love animation and everything, yeah, go check it out. It's on Netflix right now. So, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, spoilers. I'm talking spoilers, so if you haven't seen the movie, go check it out. It's on Netflix. So, like I said, this movie follows Sato, who has recently become Ultraman. His dad was Ultraman for a long time, but he gets injured, and Sato moves there to help take over the Ultraman role. He's a little reluctant. He wants to be a baseball player. He was this big deal baseball player for the Dodgers in Los Angeles, but he gave that up to move back to Japan, and he joins the Giants team in Japan. So one of the big themes of this movie is the story between Sato and his dad. His dad wasn't very balanced, which again, it's supposed to be a theme of the movie, but I don't think they, you know, pinpointed very well and tell that to the audience. So his dad wasn't very balanced, so his wife and Sato ended up leaving him when they were little and moving to Los Angeles, and that's why he was in the Dodgers team and everything like that. Because Sato's dad was Ultraman, and he's always leaving, and he didn't have a good work-life balance. But to me, that doesn't really make any sense, because one of the first things we see in the movie is Sato and his dad having a good time together. And while his dad does leave in that scene to go save the city, he's going to save the city. But even throughout the movie, we get told, and this is an issue with the movie, that we are told a lot of things and we're not shown a lot of things. We're told that Sato's dad is, you know, he wasn't really there for the family, he was always leaving. But what we see is that he was actually a good dad. Like, say in the beginning of the movie, he's making curry with his son, and they're watching baseball with his wife and mom. But, of course, he has to leave during an emergency because he's Ultraman. And then later on, we see other scenes, and we're told times where Sato and him had a fantastic, you know, kind of relationship, but it just kind of fell apart. It also didn't make any sense to me that his wife would leave him to move all the way to Los Angeles. They don't really give a good reason, just that, again, his dad was obsessed with being Ultraman. But his wife was part of what he did. Like, they said in the movie that him and his wife studied kaiju together and everything like that, so she was kind of there with him. So I don't know what changed where she decided to move to Los Angeles and do who knows what. We're not really told. And that's an issue with this movie. We're not really told how these people get their Ultraman powers. Like the dad and Sato can both transform into Ultraman. I think I know in the show they're aliens who come to Earth or whatever, but we're not really told that. And I guess it's not a huge deal in the story, but I kept thinking about that. I'm like, at first I thought they invented the Ultraman power because his dad was a scientist and they had all this cool technology and everything, but we're not really told that. I guess we just should assume that. And the same thing, his mom disappears before the beginning of the movie, and we're just told that she disappeared. We don't really know what she was doing. I think she was exploring or something, and then she just kind of vanished one day. And of course it's a setup for a sequel of the movie. They mention her a lot of times as disappearing, that she has a beacon, and the beacon's still active, and at the end of the movie she's in the post-credit scenes, against spoilers, she's able to contact Sato and, you know, communicate with him. So there's just a lot of stuff like that. Like the Kaiju Defense Force kills kaijus, and we're meant to think that's a bad thing, but throughout the entire movie, kaijus go and destroy the city, and the main villain, Dr. Ando, I believe his name is, he wants to capture the baby to follow it back to Kaiju Island to destroy all the kaiju, because the kaiju killed his wife and daughter towards the beginning of the movie or in the past. So, you know, he's not really a villain. I totally understand. If these monsters were constantly coming to my, you know, country, my city, and just destroying it and killing people, I would want to destroy them too. But apparently we're meant to think that's a bad thing. And of course we don't want to see the baby kaiju die, but I feel like they could have done a better job of making us understand how they are the bad guys. We're also not even told how they get the baby kaiju egg in the beginning of the movie. I feel like that's also a plot hole. There's just a lot of things like that that like irk me throughout the movie. And again, it's not a big movie killer thing, and it was probably just me overthinking this stuff, but it did bother me, you know, to an extent. So the movie again follows Sato. In the beginning of the movie, he moves to Japan. You know, he's very egotistical and arrogant, and he starts playing with the giants. But, you know, being Ultraman interferes with that, so he starts suffering. And especially when he finds the kaiju baby, we get a montage of him not being able to balance everything. But eventually, the baby escapes, and Sato goes to save it, but the baby gets really hurt. Its arm gets dislocated and everything. So he eventually calls his dad to come help him, and his dad helps bring a little bit of balance into his life. The first bit of balance, well, chaos was the baby kaiju, but it starts to balance him and make him a better person. And then when his dad gets into his life, he gets even better balance. And eventually, we get another montage. His dad, the baby kaiju, and Sato, just getting in sync, and he starts becoming better at baseball and uniting his baseball team. Again, this is one of my issues. We get a quick montage of him, becoming a better person and getting along with his baseball team, which earlier we had seen that he had an ego, he didn't get along with anyone, and, he started suffering at baseball because of the kaiju baby. But then we get another montage where we just kind of blow past all that, and we're told, or shown, kind of told, that, he's doing better. He's better at baseball and everything now. And I feel like that's, again, where maybe if it was a show, we could have got that a little bit better balanced. But eventually, the baby gets in the cocoon and grows wings. And the climax of the movie is that because in the beginning of the movie, the kaiju baby's mom was killed, or at least we thought it was killed, but really it was captured and turned into kind of like a mecha robot to trick the baby into taking them to Kaiju Island. So the Kaiju Defense Force attacks Sato's house, kind of like in Iron Man. It really reminds me of Iron Man 1 or 3 when Iron Man's house is attacked. And Sato thinks his dad dies, and the baby follows the controlled mother, and Sato gets really angry and chases him. And it leads to this battle where he fights the mother, who he thinks is a robot or dead and being controlled, but during the battle he finds out that she's still alive and all the machine stuff on her is just controlling her. And so the battle gets crazy, but eventually his dad, who's presumed dead, shows up and comes to save him, and they work together with the kaiju mother who's free and the kaiju baby to fight this awesome looking mecha robot thing. Like, there's this big spaceship that transforms into a robot, and it just looks awesome. And it leads to this big battle where the two kaijus and the two Ultraman are fighting it. It's a very cool battle, and it ends with them defeating it, working together. And then Dr. Ando, again, I think that's his name, who's piloting it, sets it to self-destruct. And it looks like Ultraman uses his force field to protect everyone from the explosion, from the self-destruction, sacrificing himself. This also kind of doesn't work for me, because right after the scene, they show him alive, like, right away. There's no emotional tension to it. There is at the moment, but, like, right after, it's just, like, over. And I don't like these scenes where, like in Scoob, in that movie where, I think, was it Scooby who sacrificed himself at the end of the movie and then quickly he came back? It's the same thing. There's no point in having these sacrificial scenes where the hero, the main character, sacrifices himself to save the day just for them to come back to life like a minute later. It doesn't, like, it's pointless and it's meaningless. And of course, they're not going to kill off the main character, but they could have figured something else out, or just removed that scene and made it something a little different to build the tension. I don't know, maybe his dad sacrifices himself, something like that. Who freaking knows? But that scene, like, is just kind of worthless to me. So, another issue. But, the movie ends with Sato again going to the baseball team. They win the championship. He has, like, a broken arm. That's all that happened with that self-destruct explosion that was going to destroy the entire city and all of them and everything like that. But it ends, again, they take the baby kaiju with the mom to Kaiju Island. They finally find it, because they weren't able to find it in the movie. And then we get the post-credit scenes where we find out where his mom is alive. And bam, that's the end of the story. Like I said, I did enjoy it as much as I complained. Like, I did have issues with the story. I feel like, again, if it was a series, they could have fleshed a lot of this stuff out, and I think it could have been a little bit better. But overall, it's a good movie. It's enjoyable. I love the characters, I like Sato. I liked his dad, even though I didn't really believe the conflict between them. I like the kaiju baby. There's this robot AI throughout in the movie that's a main character that Sato's dad created, who is, Sato's best friend, essentially. who helps him out with the kaiju baby and everything like that. And there's also I believe her name is. She's this reporter which kind of like this about this movie. You think they're gonna set up like a romantic relationship between these two characters, and they don't. Maybe they will in the sequel, but they don't. They're just kind of friends, kind of, because she has a child and she's a single mom. So Sato contacts her earlier in the movie to get advice on how to find balance in this life. How do you work and raise a child at the same time? So I really like that relationship. I kind of wish we saw a little bit more of it, but I think it was really good and really interesting, and especially that they didn't just make her the love interest. But overall, like I said, it's a good movie with flaws that I keep bringing up, but I feel like most people probably won't notice, and it's geared towards younger audiences, so I feel like they're definitely probably not going to notice that stuff, and maybe I'm just overthinking it. But overall, I do recommend it. It's a 7 out of 10 enjoyable movie. So if you watched it, did you like it? Did you hate it? If you're an Ultraman fan, does this do service to the character, or does it do it a disservice? Let me know in the comments below. As always, thank you for watching, like and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace out.